I went all in and I turned that $15,000 initial investment into $15 million in gross revenue in about 5 years.
What are some of the biggest systems that you put in place that were the biggest game changers for you?
What do I hate doing that I'm also maybe not that good at? It makes me the least amount of money. That's what I need to delegate.
Mm-hmm.
As long as I know that your effort is at 100, I don't expect your results to be at 100.
All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of the Cash Flow Alexio Show. Today, I am super excited to introduce my latest guest, Evan Rundle. He is the CEO of Noviq, which is the largest Airbnb operator in downtown San Diego and operates over 250 units spanning across the US from San Diego, LA, and Miami. And we're going to talk about his story. He was a singer-songwriter in Miami, moved to LA, dealt with some mental health issues back in the day, and overcame to create this monstrosity of a company here that is just taking over downtown San Diego. So, Evan, welcome to the podcast.
Alexio, thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. Thank you for coming on. And we're good friends too. So it's awesome that we can kind of do this and create value for the listeners. But, you know, in the real estate space here on the Cash Flow Alexio Show, we always like to follow entrepreneurs who are doing big things, creating cash flow and pursuing financial freedom. So tell me, how are you doing that today? What are you doing with Noviq?
Wow, great question. How am I pursuing cash flow?
Yeah. How are you?
And what are we doing?
So what is Noviq and how are you pursuing financial freedom and cash flow?
Love that. So Noviq is a boutique short-term rental and management company for hotels and Airbnbs, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And where I think we specialize is in maximizing the guest experience while also maximizing the profit for our owners and for ourselves. So it's kind of the marriage of those two things that I think separates us from a lot of our competitors. We master lease, co-host, syndicate, and now we started a hotel fund, all for the purpose of buying and developing Airbnb-style hotels across the country.
That's awesome, man. And what you said there at the beginning, marrying those two things, you're creating value for tenants, a better user experience, and for owners, ease of management, better service on that front. So, I mean, creating value is the way to create higher income. And you're doing it, man. So I guess let's just start. How did you get started here in San Diego, and how did Noviq become what it is today?
So I can go pretty far back to Miami, then LA, San Diego, or how far back do you want me to go?
How did you get started in Airbnb? Let's just do that.
So in 2014, I flew out to LA for my first time to scout for like apartments and places where I wanted to live. Because since I was a kid, I always had LA on like every vision board I've ever had.
Oh yeah.
And it was like right in the middle.
Was it like Hollywood? Like
that's exactly right.
The cliche LA.
So cliche. And like I had like the spotlights on the vision board and like the acting reel and the two masks, like happy and sad. And like, so from a young age, I knew I needed to be there and I didn't know why. And I was an actor, singer-songwriter in Miami, and knew I was going to go there. So I put like a date on the calendar, literally like, this is the day I'm moving to LA. And sure enough, a year after I went there, I did. And when I stayed there, I stayed in an Airbnb. And this is in 2014. Like no one knew what Airbnb was. Flip key was like a thing. And my host at the time, super nice guy, this guy Gus, shout out to Gus. We became friends. I hit him up. I loved what he did. I was like, wow, this is crazy. And I found out that he was doing rental arbitrage.
Okay.
So he didn't even own the place. And I'm like, so wait a minute. You rented this from somebody and then they gave you permission to then re-rent it on Airbnb. And all you had to do was like furnish it and like put it on an app. He's like, yeah. I'm like, dude, I can definitely do that.
Yeah. Rental arbitrage is awesome because it's a great way to get into managing and owning real estate, or feeling the benefits of owning real estate, the cash flow, without actually having to put all the down payment up front. You're just paying the rent and making a spread on that versus what you're collecting. So that's awesome.
100%. And back then you could do anything and make a profit on Airbnb. Yeah. So like IKEA furniture, you know, cell phone photos, like just the worst of the worst, and like 5x the rent.
Like there was no competition?
No competition. It was Wild Wild West. Remember, there was no gurus back then, no YouTube courses. There was no auto messaging. There was no auto pricing. You literally had to do everything manually.
Yeah.
And we did in-person check-ins because the Schlage system hadn't really been developed yet for the auto codes.
Right.
So I would literally like meet these guests at like 2:00 in the morning if they were coming in from overseas, check them in, do the laundry, make the bed. I was cleaning.
Like one-man show doing it all. Wow.
But how that worked is when I did move to LA, I reached out to Gus and we became roommates. And when I moved in with him, he had these like shelves in his living room with like toiletries and paper towel and like all the linens. So we essentially lived in like an Airbnb storage facility. And I fell in love with it. And it was something that I realized passive income, cash flow. And I was like, okay, I love acting, I love singing, but why don't I try this for a while? Not be like a beggar going on auditions every single day, hoping I'm going to make it.
Right.
And find a way to actually make a yield on my investment, which is real estate. And so that was in 2015, got my first unit. It was about 15K. I had no idea what I was doing. So I went to like all these garage sales with a U-Haul, got a couple people, and we literally like got a couch from here, a dresser from here, complete terrible design. But it made a ton of money. And when I went home for Christmas that year, I came back with more money than I left. And I was like, okay.
And that's hard to do when you're like an aspiring musician leaving to pursue the dream in LA. You're like, hey, it's going to cost a lot. You did not expect to go back with more than what you left with.
Exactly. Right. And it was the first time in my life I didn't have to trade time for money. Prior to that, every time I ever made a penny, it was from either teaching music or doing a show or working at like, all the way back to like a, Publix in Florida. I had never made passive income. And when I went back to LA, I went all in. And so 2016, we scaled very quickly. I think I got to like 8 units and I was still doing pretty much everything myself, like all the cleaning, which I do not recommend.
Yeah.
And for a while, I had moved out from Gus's. I didn't even have a primary residence. So I would look at my calendar every day and see what Airbnb was open. And then I would sleep in that Airbnb. I would take all my clothing with me.
Wow.
And I had like closets in every Airbnb where I would store my stuff. And I lived like a nomad just to make the money and regenerate it because I was bootstrapping. I didn't understand debt. I didn't understand how to do this.
Dude, you know what's so funny though about your story? Like what you're saying right now, just doing whatever it takes to get by every day, but keep the business operating.
That's
and
right.
Especially when you're just like, you're single, you don't, you have a backpack of items. Like that's something you can do. And at that age, like you can really pull it off.
Exactly.
There's not a whole lot of times in your life where like you have the complete freedom to just like, hey, go meet guests at 2 a.m. and go clean units myself, whatever it takes. Like that straight entrepreneur, like, do it all mindset. But you listen to stories from really anybody who's successful, who has a lot of, success to share. And they all have a story like that where they were in the trenches. And oftentimes I feel like everybody who is very successful has to go through that journey because that's where you learn all of the little things that you need to know to create the business that is Noviq.
100%.
Because they're all the little intricacies that you have to master along the way to really have a grand picture and be able to direct people effectively, knowing what's actually going into the nuts and bolts.
It's so funny you say that. Back then, I was like broke, right? Like literally a starving musician. I mean, I wasn't starving, but eating tuna. I would go to Costco and get the giant tuna cans. I don't know if you remember. They don't sell them anymore. It was like an 8-pound can of tuna.
I remember getting all the big tuna cans. Yeah, that as a high school student.
And I would just eat that. But I remember the first time I hired a cleaner, I was paying like top dollar, and it was very difficult for me because that was a lot of money to me at the time.
Yeah. And
so to your earlier point, I know how hard it is to clean. I know how long it should take. I know the linens process. I know how to make the beds exactly. So, I agree with you that like kind of learning from the bottom really enabled me to be a better leader today and understand how difficult it is and also like how long it should be taken.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Well, yeah, I think that's funny because cleaning anyway is one of those things that's so, I guess people think it's like overrated, but it's not. It takes so much to actually clean effectively. Like, if as an Airbnb guest, if you notice that like there's like a hair behind a toilet, you're like, oh, this is disgusting. I want this to be immaculate, brand new for me when I show up. There's no way to like make it brand new unless you're hitting the details.
That's right.
And the details, that's what takes all the time.
And then it snowballs. So once they see that, then they're looking for everything. They're looking at the fan blades. They're looking at the vents in the bathroom. Like once they have that first bad interaction, forget it. It's so hard to pull them back.
Right. Well, so coming first Airbnb experience, you make best friends with your host. You end up living with him.
Yep.
Then you go into the business doing rental arbitrage.
That's right.
What happens next? You start doing it for more and more units, or you start managing other people? What was next in your journey?
Yeah, great question. So again, there was still really there wasn't even the term rental arbitrage back then. It was subleasing. That's what you did. Yeah. And it didn't even exist in the leases. Like now you see like, hey, Airbnb, right. It wasn't even in the leases. So I went all in and I turned that $15,000 initial investment into $15 million in gross revenue in about 5 years.
Wow.
And for someone that had never even made really enough, I was kind of like below the poverty line. And I mean, that sounds hyperbolic, but it's true. Like the amount of income I generated previous to that, I made more in a month than I had pretty much in a year ever in my life.
Right.
And so build this big company. I've got employees now and I'm over 150 doors, something crazy. And I'm, it's just all rental arbitrage, and COVID hits. And when COVID hit, I came to San Diego. And I think I came here for the first time in like maybe 2019 on vacation, and I loved it. But when I saw what happened in LA during COVID and I saw what was happening here, I was like, there's some opportunity in San Diego. It's managed a little bit different than Los Angeles.
A little bit different culture. Like we don't just abuse the general person doesn't abuse the system quite as much as they do in LA and expect everything to be covered for them. Yeah.
Sure. Well, and also the regulations were different, right? So Gaslamp was open, restaurants were allowed to eat outside. You guys basically invented the parklet system here, having all those parklets on Fifth Ave.
Right.
And I remember all the VC companies at the time were like moving out. Like Stay Alfred went BK, Sonder was moving out. There was a lot of companies that were like, hey, we're closing
These
shop.
are the big Airbnb guys.
Big Airbnb, like VC tech guys.
I had a lease with Sonder on a couple deals. And in fact, that's how we first met. We just didn't realize who each other was at the time. And then later on figured it out. But you actually took over a lot of Sonder's business, if I remember correctly.
Don't come after me, Sonder, all right? You guys were already gone at the time. It's not my fault. Because they will. They've come after me in the past, like outbidding me on deals and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, I think it's Warren Buffett. It's like when others are fearful, be greedy. And so people were leaving and I saw this huge opportunity and I knew Gaslamp was going to come back. I knew downtown was going to come back. So I basically like put all my eggs in this basket. I kept a lot of stuff in LA, but I moved out of a ton of units, put all my furniture in storage, like millions of dollars of furniture in storage, and then brought a lot of it here so that I could scale again when COVID started slowing down.
Okay. Do you still have any of that furniture in storage, or is it all deployed?
It's all been deployed.
Okay.
Some of it is still in use, though, if I'm being honest. Like some of those metal bed frames are indestructible. And we clean them. Yeah, we clean them. But some of it's still being used. So that's the other thing is like people talk about depreciation on furniture. Some of that stuff's still worth the exact same amount to me today as when I bought it. Like,
really?
Yeah, because I can still use it. So
do you feel like the more expensive items are worth the same, or is it the cheaper stuff that just have more utility is worth the same?
It's the durable stuff.
The durable stuff.
Stuff you wouldn't really think about, right? Like, if a mattress has a protector on it for a long time and it's still in good condition, if you spend a good amount of money on it, you can keep it. Right. Same with the bed, like the platform beds. Those things are like solid metal. They don't rust. They're very strong.
Right. Yeah.
Keep using them.
In general, what actually gets replaced? Because this is I'm actually curious. Like in an Airbnb, do they come and just replace the top sheet? Do they replace like the cover underneath in between each visit? Or I'm sure some operators are a little bit different. What is your practice for like the level of cleaning that should be expected at every turnover?
So we like to say that we are an Airbnb company with hotel quality, right? And I think that's what's made us successful is we have our own in-house linens facility. So I'm talking about our own machines, our own chemicals, our own linens. We can wash it in a very high heat. They're commercial grade.
Wow.
We can use commercial grade materials. We have a van that literally drives around picking up dirty linens, dropping off clean linens. And so we've been able to have a lot more quality control over what we do. Now, it didn't start that way, obviously.
Yeah.
But to answer your question today, it's a total clean every single time, right? So we'll even clean the mattress protector. But yeah, we absolutely take everything off site and bring all new stuff every cleaning.
That's awesome, man. And I mean, like you just said, you have a van, you've gotten your own facility. I'm sure it wasn't always that way. You were contracting things out at one time and finally said, hey, we're spending enough money here. Let's bring it in-house, rent a space and buy some machines.
Well, I was doing the linens. I literally had IKEA bags that I would have on each shoulder, taking linens into a laundromat, getting it started, go do the check-in, clean the other unit, go back and get the linens, make the beds, do another check-in, go to sleep, pass out, do it all over again.
Yeah.
For like years.
You know what's funny is I was recently on a Justin Brennan podcast.
Yeah, shout out.
Yeah, and he's the man, but he says this thing and he's got a hat that says WIT, whatever it takes.
Yeah.
And I mean, you're like embodying that whole whatever it takes mentality with this putting the linens on your back with 2 IKEA bags, and those are the big bags.
Oh yeah. Dollar ones,
those
things
showing
are
up
indestructible, by the way. Like, what are they
I think I still have
bags?
some of those from like 15 years ago.
They're like bulletproof. Yeah.
Yeah, and then showing up at 2 a.m. to help guests enter the unit. I mean, I'm sure that if you had to, you would still do that today, but you don't have to do that stuff anymore because you've created these systems. You've got people driving the vans. What I keep hearing is that you found ways to systemize a lot of the general tasks of Airbnb to allow you the bandwidth to think about the next big thing.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the biggest systems that you put in place that were the biggest game changers for you?
Great question. So today we do a lot of automation, and I have a great software stack.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially we use Guesty, which is the Coca-Cola, in my opinion, of property management software.
Okay.
And within Guesty, you can automate a ton of stuff, messages, the check-in instructions.
Okay.
One thing we do, and like hosts out there, go ahead and feel free to copy me on this. We'll make a check-in video for every single guest for every single check-in. And so what I mean by that is instead of me back in the day going and meeting them, now it's a POV video welcoming them. Hey, this is where you park. This is how you get in. If the door doesn't lock, this is what you do.
Wow.
How does the washer dryer work? How does the hot tub work? Literally step-by-step instructions for their entire stay.
Wow.
I don't know why more people aren't doing that. So you can copy me on
That's
that.
awesome.
If you
And
want to.
I'm sure that some people are still going to ask you questions anyway because they're not going to watch the video. But for a lot of people, that's going to eliminate that extra message that someone on your team has to get involved with.
Yeah. How do you work the hot tub? Boop.
Yeah.
Here's a video.
That's awesome. And I'm sure even with AI now or the next generation of video viewing, you can just click on the chapter marker that it generates for you.
And so we're using AI quite a bit.
Yeah.
So within Guesty, there's a review audit system. It's called Reviews AI. And so we'll use that to look at what's going right and what's going wrong. And so we have meetings all the time where, hey, let's look at this unit by unit. And what are these chronic reviews? So like, for example, one of our units in downtown has bad windows. They're historic, nothing you can do. But we actually found a company in a way that we can do like inner windows with like argon gas. And so after like 100 complaints, we're like, hey, this is costing us X amount of dollars. Let's just do something. Let's do the dollar spend and fix it. So we're actually using AI to help us understand what the consumer wants on a micro level and on a macro level.
which is leading to better reviews.
Better reviews and more money.
And improved service.
That's right. And the first thing I said at the beginning, right?
Yeah.
Maximize guest experience, maximize profit.
Yeah, that's awesome. You know, I think that a lot of people, myself included, are in that stage of just trying to, wearing so many hats that we're just trying to keep the business afloat. And it's really hard to think about improving the experience when you're just trying to keep it up. And I'm sure you probably felt that way at some point.
Many times.
And that's probably what triggered this idea of systemizing the process. But you're using AI. You have, it sounds like a number of W-2 workers who are driving your vans, helping you with move-ins, checkout, linens, things like that. Do you have any VAs or what's your process with that?
Love my VAs. Shout out to my VAs. I think we just hit number 12.
Wow.
And
that's a lot of VAs.
A lot of VAs. Remember, we have 250 doors, right?
Right.
So if you look at my VA stack, we have different buckets and different departments, right? So I have 2 VAs whose only job is damage collections. That's it.
Okay.
Talking to all the cleaners, looking at all the photos, who broke what guests to charge, calling Airbnb, calling the OTAs, following up, showing the proof, getting the invoice. That's a full-time job, right?
No one even thinks about that when you think of Airbnb or place, but that's something that happens, and people aren't going to say, "I broke this thing." They're just going to disappear and hope that you don't see it.
Exactly, and that's actually one of the steps is ask them. We give the guest a chance. So because remember, we want that good review and we want the repeat customer. So let's say it's like a $20 wine glass. We're not going to charge them, but we'll let them know like, hey, do you realize that you broke this? And sometimes we'll say, oh my God, so sorry. How much is it? And they'll just send you $20, right?
Okay.
So you don't always have to go through that process. But then there's the guests that like do some serious damage. And that's why it's so important to have good cleaners that it's the same cleaner going back every time, and that they take a ton of photos and a ton of videos, because then we can show before and after. Because we have photos of the previous cleaning.
Right.
So we can prove the previous checkout, that couch was fine.
Right.
And then we show Airbnb, hey, look, you got, wine all over it or whatever.
Right. That's interesting. So, no one thinks about taking a video every time that the place gets cleaned, just to have a record of what the condition was, so that if something's out of whack, you can pinpoint which tenant was responsible for that and build them back.
It's a lot.
And without that evidence, you're probably just going to have to eat it.
Exactly. And a lot of people do. And at a small scale, maybe that's fine. But 250 doors, that compounds. I mean, we're talking about 6 figures in damages.
Well, not only that, but if you're a management company, you're competing against other management companies. And other management companies aren't able to recoup as much of the damage cost. That's the owner's going to eat that cost.
Exactly.
And so where apples to apples on like maybe a percentage, you guys are the same, you're saving them, hundreds, potentially thousands of dollars per month or per year, just by preventing the owner to incur the cost of major damages.
You guys hear all that? Thank you.
But, again, as a layman, I'm a apartment owner. I manage 72 doors, long-term rentals. We don't have the touches every single 3 days for each of the units like you do. Yours is a much more intensive process. We still have, tenant turnover. There's tenants who are moving out. They leave a mattress. They, put holes in the walls, and they say, "Oh, it was like that." I'm like, no, there weren't holes in the walls.
Right.
And, luckily every time I have a new unit, I don't have to do it as often as you, not every 3 days.
Right.
Once every 2 years, I take photos of the unit. And so, we have the before and afters. We also have, move-in checklists, but it's interesting to hear, some of these things that people don't think about managing Airbnbs. From changing all of the linens to taking photos in between visits, and then going after guests who don't pay, and how that process works. What's something else that people don't think about when it comes to managing Airbnb?
Much. Cameras. So, and this is a hot button topic a little bit. We only have cameras on the exterior before people go crazy.
Like Ring cameras or something like that? Yeah.
But every time we do an onboarding, we do a camera audit, right? So where are the blind spots? Where do they need to be? And there's a couple of things that you enforce with the cameras that I think a lot of hosts slack on. Parking is a big one. Extra guests is a big one. Uninvited pets is a big one. Smoking, noise. So not only do we have cameras, we have something called minute detectors that actually are reading the decibel level. And our VAs are trained to look at that on an ongoing basis and know the city that they're in and the time that they're in.
Wow.
And if the guest is past the dB level out of normal hours, immediately can shut it down.
Wow. They get a text from a VA or something?
Yeah, and a call if they don't pick up.
Wow.
And what's cool about the Ring cameras is you can actually talk to the guest. So literally they'll get on Ring and they'll say, "Hey guys," like the guests start looking around like, "God, who is that?" Like, what is happening? And they'll literally talk to the guests respectfully, but "Hey guys, it's 10:30 and there's 8 of you in the hot tub right now blasting music. You guys got to shut it down."
Yeah.
And we'll literally talk to them through the camera.
Have you ever had an issue where they're like, "Fuck you,"
Yes, often. And then sheriff.
Wow. So you guys initiate the call versus the neighbors.
Exactly. Okay. So we also, and this is another thing a lot of people don't think about, our tenants are not tenants. They are lodgers.
Okay.
And so this is very important if you're a new host. We make every guest sign what's called a lodging agreement, where they are now classified as a lodger the same way you would be in a Marriott, right?
Okay.
So think about a Marriott. If you're there for 31 days, you don't have tenants' rights. You can't squat in a Marriott, right? We're in California. Why is that? Because they're not a tenant. They don't have a legal claim to the property. And so they don't have, we have way more recourse now. So if they're in violation of the contract that they signed, we don't even have to wait. We can immediately shut it down.
That's a great segue to just something I really want to interject with. And just 2 days ago, I dealt with a squatter at a property here. We just renovated a fourplex here in North Park, and we had someone who just moved in and claimed that they had a lease to the property. They showed a lease to the sheriff when we called him. We're like, "Hey, they're trespassing." He's like, "Oh, she showed me a lease." The lease didn't have any signatures other than the tenant. It was just a phony lease online. But as far as the police are concerned, they have to just recommend it. It's a civil matter. They have to recommend you to court. It takes 8 months to get someone out through an eviction in California. So we were like, "Dude, guys, we have to get this place leased up. We have to get refinanced. We have to, or resell it. This, we can't afford to wait 8 months. The place is ready to go right now. This is going to be a major problem for us. And yeah, they had squatters' rights. So what happened is I approached the tenant. We found a way and negotiated a way to get her out of the unit. Involved me paying her a lot of money, like what was otherwise probably a homeless person, thousands of dollars. Got her out of the unit, and I put her in a hotel for 3 nights. But what happens after the hotel? It's not my problem anymore. However, now I'm understanding, well, it's a lodging. It's not a tenant.
That's right.
So if she were to continue past her stay at the hotel, they probably have another method of recourse that goes outside of the California tenancy laws.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
And assuming they don't change the locks, we shut down their code. Their code stops working.
Okay.
It's only during their stay.
Okay.
And our cameras can catch them relatively early if they're doing something nefarious. And then we have roaming staff. So the benefit of having that large infrastructure that I do is I have 2 full-time handymen that are constantly rotating my units, right? And they have different shifts so that there's never really a gap. And so something goes down, hey, I need you to get on site right now immediately. And then we have a physical presence on site. That's the danger a lot of the Airbnb hosts that are hosting out of state.
Right.
It's great to have a thumbtack and it's great to have cleaners, but what do you do in an emergency? And that's a very hard thing. You have to have somebody reliable that can be there at a moment's notice. And that's just one of the benefits of having a larger scale company.
That's a huge one too, especially in a place like California where you can easily run into people attempting to squat. Now, tell me about one time that might have happened to you or one of your clients.
I don't know if you knew that story because it did happen once.
No.
And once was enough. It happened during COVID. And this was a professional squatter.
Okay.
They showed up with the tools to change the lock and did it in literally the first 5 minutes of being on site.
Wow.
So we did not get there on time. And then when one of my staff members did get there, they pulled a knife. Now they didn't take it out of the sheath. So they knew even that law. They just showed that they had the knife. And so technically we couldn't get them arrested because they found this weird loophole where they were inside the door. And then when my staff got there, they just showed the knife, which is enough to scare him, but not enough to count for assault or.
Really?
Dude, it's wild. These were professional squatters. And then they took it a step further and posted on social media that they were in my unit. And they were like, hey, I have a 2-bedroom now that I'm going to be in for X amount of time. Hit me up on Facebook and come and stay in this unit. It's a whole thing, dude.
Wow.
Yeah. And I don't know how much I want to share on it, only because they still live in San Diego and they know my name and they know what I do.
Right.
And so I have not seen this person since then, but I have a judgment out against them. They owe me money. And it was brutal. And I couldn't find a lawyer. I couldn't find a judge.
During COVID.
Everything was shut down.
Yeah.
So they were there for over a year.
Wow.
It was terrible, dude. And this is a rental arbitrage unit.
That is crazy.
Yeah, no, it's wild. It's wild.
Over a year.
Over a year. Yeah.
Oh my God. That is a nightmare story.
Yeah. And again, I don't know how much I want to get into it just because.
Hey, you know what? Sure, you don't have to say it, but I will. That person's a piece of shit. And anybody who tries to take advantage of other people, especially, that is a serious financial burden for someone like you, or really myself, having to think of, okay, expecting to get $3,000 a month for a unit that I just spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on to renovate, or you, in your case, operating furniture.
Oh my God.
Signing a lease.
It was brand new. It was so nice. It was our nicest unit.
And then as the owner, it's just this person's stealing from me every day and potentially damaging my property every day, potentially burning down my property every day.
Oh, he did.
For over a year. And, that's just mental. And the fact that California is so leaning towards tenants in situations like that, where they're obviously taking advantage of landlords, and provides us no option other than, hey, why don't you pay them off so that they leave? They literally suggest that almost every time. And oftentimes, even after the court process, they still require that.
Right.
It's just kind of backwards thinking. And it's why a lot of people don't invest in California. And it's one of the risks you take owning real estate here. Although I will say, in 10 years of owning real estate and, operating 72 units now, I've only dealt with one squatter.
Right.
And I hope that remains. But it sounds like in your experience, many years in Airbnb too, you have this, one really bad apple that you'll never forget. Yeah.
Millions of guests hosted over a million.
Over a million.
Guests.
Yes. That's impressive.
So, and lesson learned, I did not have the contract back then, so that's what boosted me into, okay, never again.
So wait, tell me how do you avoid that now going
with
forward?
the contract? So we didn't have the lodging
contract.
Had we had that, we could have gotten them out immediately.
So with Airbnb, you know, when I go through Airbnb, usually I don't end up signing anything on there. Do
No
you have
protection.
you have like a process of like actually forwarding them to some DocuSign link or something.
We
like
have
that?
to, and that's what Guessie's great for. It's done automated, and they sign it through Guessie, so
Wow.
we have a time and date stamp, and they don't get their door code till they sign my contract.
Wow.
So we've
that's
had
great.
guests complain and like, oh, we can't get in, we can't get in. It's like, well, you knew you had to sign this. I'm not giving you legal access to my property, so we're just gonna wait till you sign it. Oh, but come on, it's just my friend's there now. Let him in. No,
Yeah.
sorry, no, I'm not gonna give
I
you
had
the
that one
code.
bad apple. I learned my
Yeah, like sorry, and they can get mad all they want. Like you agreed to this when you booked this place. It's in bold letters. Like you must sign a short-term rental lodging agreement. If you don't sign it, I'm not giving you the code.
Wow.
Think about it. You can't show up to a Marriott and say, "Oh, don't worry about my ID. Don't worry about the deposit on my credit card. Just give me the key to the room." Absolutely not. They're gonna make you wait. Sorry, can't
Absolutely,
check in.
yeah.
No ID. You can't check in.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, and there's a lot of people who are like, oh yeah, I'll be cool, but you're too cool. You know, that's how
No.
people get taken advantage
Business
of.
is
And
business. And
I
it's
was-
not my property.
Yeah.
I'm co-hosting. This is someone else's home. I can't take a risk like that. $5, $6, $7 million house, and I'm going to let some person in that we have no recourse over. Absolutely not.
I think like most people, you learn the greatest lessons in life often result from being some of the most costly experiences. I know that to be true for myself. I've learned some of the most valuable lessons from actually losing, you know, lots of money from people I thought I could trust, and turns out I couldn't. And it sounds like you kind of learned that in the same fashion with the one guy who took advantage of the system. You know, one thing that I'm trying to do right now is scale. I don't have W-2 employees. I have a brokerage now with shout out Bridgepoint. We just opened up shop. We've got 12 brokers in the office, but they're all 1099s. But we want to create a cool living experience for them. However, my personal life, you know, I manage 72 units for myself and my family. I'm running this brokerage. I'm servicing my own clients to buy and sell real estate. And then I'm also project managing and buying and building out my own projects. So it's like wearing a lot of hats, and I'm finding myself, and I'm, you know, family with 2 kids, one of them less than 4 months old. So I'm wearing a lot of hats, and I'm finding myself like, I just can't keep all these balls in the air and still be creative about the next thing. And I'm sure that you felt that way at one point. What's like your best advice to someone who feels kind of handcuffed? And you know, knowing that we have to hire someone, get some help. What's the best way to do that? How did you do that for yourself?
So I was very fortunate that when I was scaling, I found a friend who had also had about, I forget how many units, but they had a VA, and I acquired like those units and I got the VA. So my first VA came, and she still works with me to this day. And she came with all the training already. So that was a huge, like, you know,
Because that's the hardest part I hear
That's the
about
hardest
VAs
part.
is training them.
Training them and finding a trustworthy one that like works on your hours and, you know, has all the credentials. And then she helped me find, hire, and train every VA since then. But to answer your earlier question, shout out to Dan Martell. Just finished Buy Back Your Time about 6-7 months ago. I don't know if you've ever read it.
No, I haven't, but you
Dude,
mentioned
you
it to
gotta
me
do it.
before. I got to read it.
Especially where you're in, because that burnout it comes from overwhelm, and it comes from, like you said, wearing too many hats and knowing that you could be doing, like, if I'm only spending 10% of my time on the task that's going to make me the most money, and 90% of my time is taken away from that, I've got to find ways to cover this.
Right.
And so you basically build like a quadrant, and you say like, hey, what do I really like to do and that makes me the most money that I'm really good at? That's what I need to focus on. What do I hate doing that I'm also maybe not that good at? It makes me the least amount of money. That's what I need to delegate. And delegation's hard, man. Like, you know, if somebody could do what you do, they would be doing what you're doing.
Right.
So there is a level of like, hey, I need to expect 80% of this done the way that I want, or 70%. It's never going to be 100%.
It's never to be the same service you could do yourself,
right.
and you have to get comfortable with that. That's the hard
That's
thing
the
that I
hardest
have,
part.
because I'm never satisfied if there's little tweaks, and
I know.
I just got to overcome that because it doesn't matter.
It's so hard. And they're not you. Like, that's the thing. You have to think about it like that, because then they would be where you're at. So I have to constantly have patience, compassion, and also like they don't have a decade of experience doing what you're doing, you know? So if I hire somebody that's really good at this one thing, I can't expect them to also then be good at this other thing. because you are good at both of those.
Yeah.
And so I think, the credits can transfer, and they don't.
Yeah. They're not the same. They don't come from the same background, same experiences, and are not making decisions from those experiences like 100%, you are.
Exactly.
Now, but I know that's a common theme with VAs because one, they're overseas, just different culture to begin with. But then two, they are really good at one thing.
Yes.
Some of them are like more admin, can do more things. But how do you navigate the, I guess you're having the meetings with them, you're going over things, and I'm sure a lot of things aren't exactly what you would want them to be. How do you manage that for yourself?
So again, part of that book, I film everything. If I have to repeat something twice, we systemize it. So if I notice that, hey, we've done this before, immediately Loom, cameras on, screen shares recording, and we're adding it to the SOP. Okay. And then, you're asking that same question from last week? Sorry, here's the link.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
that's
because
cool. I need to talk to you about setting up Loom.
Yeah, dude. Because why would we keep repeating the same thing over and over again? And as AI gets better, so earlier we were talking about AI in my system stack, we're going to start monitoring our trainings and then use AI to see how well our VAs are doing. So like when they do a customer service call, we're going to tell the guests that the call is being recorded, and then we're going to review that call and compare it to the SOP with AI.
Wow. So like, are you saying that you'll compare it in a way that you'll say, well, did they actually absorb everything from Loom?
That's
or
exactly
do they need
right.
to go back through this course? Or here are some links to videos that they should watch to just get more familiar without you having to like go back and say, wait, watch that video. Cause you don't remember which video, all the videos that you've trained.
Both and.
Wow.
Both and. And you can use Notebook LM, which we're also starting to get into now, that holds all of that. So it can literally tie it all together and say, hey, this is the SOP. This is the call that they did. Where did they go wrong? Where did they go right? And then maybe what's missing? Because this customer asked something that it's not already in our SOP. Great. Now let's add it.
Awesome.
And then on the next one, we can get better.
So it can help you fill in the gaps.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
Exactly.
And then maybe it can even help you like, hey, there's a lot of overlap here. We should combine these videos, make it more
100%.
streamlined. Yeah. Wow.
And AI can do that now. So now AI can create podcasts for you based on your own SOPs. And so you can literally say like, hey, all these old videos are garbage. They're outdated now.
Right.
Please write a script and film a podcast for today to take all that old information and give me a new video with it.
Wow. And it'll just like create your voice over it.
Everything. Yeah. It'll watch all that.
It is really incredible. I mean, I just keep wondering, like AI is moving really fast. Everybody keeps saying it. And I think you have to be taking advantage of it if you want to stay competitive because like all of these things that you're doing that like, you know, even someone like me that kind of just, you know, has the Airbnb business, but like retired 4 years ago and didn't really do anything to improve it.
Right.
Like they're so far behind you now. They cannot offer the same level of service. And and you could like even beat them out on pricing because you're so much more efficient with your back end.
Yeah.
That, you know, and that's not just your industry, that's every industry.
100%.
So a lot of good tips out of AI there. Loom, Notepad.
Oh yeah. Oh, I'll put the whole stack. And by no means am I an expert. We literally just started all this. I mean, we're learning in real time. And my new VA, shout out to Ruth, is just a ninja, a black belt with it. And so she's teaching me all this.
She like an AI like VA or
a ton of background in AI.
Yeah.
And so she came from like a marketing company and a digital design company. So she does all my content strategy and all that.
Yeah.
And so, you know, they're so respectful in the Philippines. And so she was like, hey, I don't want to offend you, but like, do you mind if I show you a way you could be doing this better? And I'm like, please, dude, yes.
I want AIs like that. I want VAs like that.
Dude, because then she presented this whole thing to me, went through my whole Monday.com CRM and completely changed it. And I was like, dude, I've been doing this wrong for years.
Wow.
And she completely changed my whole infrastructure. Incredible.
Man, one of the best investments you've probably made in the last year.
Absolutely. Shout out to her.
Now, like, you know, I'm in the process right now of hiring VAs, and I was talking to Jarvis, who's helping me do it this morning. You know,
Jarvis, of course. Yeah.
He's like, so what is the biggest quality you want in a VA? I was like, I want someone who's going to come to me with ideas on how to improve the business. And that's, I think, the hardest quality to find in any employee in general. 100%. Someone who's like aligned with you and just actually applying themselves to thinking how they can improve what you're trying to build.
100%.
Not just doing the checklist that you gave them, but going beyond and thinking like, hey, how could we do this better? And having that input, bringing it to the brainstorming collaboration to really create something new. And also that's why I think like I connected with you so early on, is I can just tell like immediately after talking to you a little bit, like you're so passionate about this. Like I know just in this conversation, I bet anybody can hear it, that you were up at like 8 p.m. some nights trying to strategize and probably 6 a.m. like planning your meetings before getting together with all your VAs and just pushing this boat down the, field to get this bigger, to make this company bigger and bigger.
You couldn't be more right. So it's a well-known joke in the company. So we use Traction. You familiar with Traction?
No.
So
I need to get familiar
Those
with
are the two things that I like anyone listening, buy back your time in Traction as a CEO and an entrepreneur. Those two books completely changed my life. Okay. So, but with Traction, what we do is we have these level 10 meetings every week, right? And it may not be level 10. We call it level 10. It might be called something else. But we have an agenda every meeting going into it. And they can always tell when I added something because it's in all caps. It's at like 11 o'clock at night. And they're like, oh man, Evan got another idea again. We got to fucking deal with this. And and it's, dude, it's an ongoing joke in my company because to your point, I can't turn it off. Yeah. And I'm always looking for ways to innovate and systemize. And they'll log in and be like, oh man, we got like 9 new topics.
But also, I know you're a perfectionist. And I think that for a lot of people that can be like annoying. You're like, dude, it's good enough. But like one of those things that, people like you or Steve Jobs, like there's a quality that a lot of these big CEOs have is that they just don't settle for okay, settle for the top. And that's why Noviq is at the service level. That's why you're incorporating all these different systems is because you don't settle for okay, you settle for excellence. And I can see that being one of the reasons why Noviq is so successful. And also I think, frankly, it's probably one of the reasons why your team enjoys working for you too. Because they're excited that they're not doing something that's just meh. They're doing something that's like top of the line impressive and every day is getting better.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
And you're right. I can't help myself. How you do something is how you do everything. And, if I'm putting my name on it, I'm like, it's one thing to be a perfectionist and then not be able to let go. But I think you can do both, right? Like if I know that I did my best and then I can let go. And so it's like, I'm gonna exhaust every resource I have. I'm gonna put my heart and soul into this. And then, all right, as long as I know I've done that, then the outcome isn't as important to me. Yeah. You know what I mean?
No, and that's all you can do is really just put in all of your effort. And as long as you know that you did that, you can be satisfied.
That's my point. And my employees, I tell them the same thing. I'm like, guys, as long as I know that your effort is at 100, I don't expect your results to be at 100. But if I'm outworking you, that's a problem. So I need to see you showing up every day, putting all your effort into this, and then not being so scared to make a mistake. I'm not judging you on your mistakes. I'm judging you on your effort.
Right. It's hard to wear that hat because it is for me anyway, because I like to be friends with everybody who are around me and including my employees. I want them to like me. And it's hard. That's always something that runs in contrast to actually being a boss is that you have to like call them out on their shit sometimes to really like elevate their game. And they need that from you too. Yeah. Whether they want that or not in the moment, but that's what they need. And that's what your company needs for you to succeed. And that's something I need to work on. But it sounds like you've gotten there some way, shape or form. Now, were you always this way when you were younger? If you don't mind, we can rewind a little bit and kind of figure out what created this Evan with this ambitious mindset that's, good with employees and really pushing his company to new limits. What are some of the experiences you had in the past that contributed to those qualities?
Man, how much time we got left? I mean, there's so much to unpack there. I've had a lot of near-death experiences and I've been through a lot of different traumatic events in my life that I think opened me up to this concept and reinforced the truth that like, we got one shot at this thing. Even if you believe in reincarnation, you're not going to remember this life, right? And so having all of that happen to me has just reinforced this notion of like, I can't leave anything in the gas tank because any minute could be your last. And if I'm leaving anything left, like shame on me, I held back and then there was less impact I could make, less service I could be, less people I could help. And that's just not okay with me. And so today, again, as long as I know that I am putting my all into something and that I'm not withholding out of fear or insecurity or whatever it is, self-centered thoughts, then I can look in the mirror and be proud of who I am, right? And so that I don't think has ever gone away since a very early age. And also my parents, man. I mean, I'm extremely privileged. Like my dad grew up in poverty in London. My mother was a first generation Hispanic woman who got bullied ruthlessly. Her dad was the first Hispanic judge in the whole country, fled communism in Cuba. My grandmother, my dad's mom, survived the bombings in London and lived underground for over a year eating bread. So it's like I grew up in Miami, Florida, in Pinecrest, went to great schools, had all the toys in the 80s and 90s. And so it's like there's a bit of that also where it's like all these other people suffered for me to be here. And I have more opportunity and resources than anyone in my lineage has ever had. I got to put that to use, and I got to use it for good, and I got to use it to impact other people.
Man, that is a crazy background from your family. And I think that way very many times too, or quite often as well. Like my father is first generation from France, and you know, my mom's dad was in World War II. And, you know, talking about bombings in London, living underground for a year. I mean, there has never been a better time to be alive than today. I mean, we have all the
100%.
creature comforts. We have the internet in our pocket. We got AI, you know, like where are we going? Like I've got cold milk in the fridge. Like what else could you want? It's like we are so pampered compared to any other generation before us. There's really no excuse to not be giving more back and giving it our all. But I mean, it's interesting that, you know, you're essentially first generation in the US.
My dad's second on my mom.
And you have this cross culture from, you know, your Latino side and then your, I guess, European English British side.
Welsh.
Right. Which is really the symbol of the melting pot of the US. But, you know, there's a lot of people that I meet that are just, you know, both parents, American, don't come with these different cultural backgrounds that bring with them these different experiences that force you to appreciate what you have here. So I think it's really, you know, maybe that's one of the unique characteristics that, you know, gave you these ambitious qualities as well. Now, what about some experiences? I know that let's rewind it back. You were a musician before you got into Airbnb. So tell me about that. What do you play? You're a singer, you're a pianist.
Yeah, great question. So 3 years old, as soon as I found a piano, I fell in love and started taking lessons at 4, started writing very early, just like mashing chords together. And I have an identical twin. I don't know if I've told you that.
Never knew this. What?
Identical twin. And so we were basically like kind of pit against each other from the onset.
Really?
Which is like iron sharpens iron. It can be really good, but also bad. But having the twin made me such a better musician because we practiced together all the time.
Really?
And we would do recitals and we would do duets and we were unstoppable.
And there's no better, like, I guess, physical, like the attributes physically and everything are equal as an identical twin.
It's like sparring your shadow.
There's no better competition.
Without question. We're genetically identical. So him trying harder made me try harder and vice versa. And I found out early though that I kind of had this weird gift where he didn't really show up in that way. And he's got a ton of other gifts, and shout out to Justin, love you, man. But there was something about music that came extra naturally to me where I just took off with it and it just resonated with me more. He fell in love with, like, I think more like science and stuff in that regard. And then when I went through my first kind of like traumatic life experience, I was hit by a car when I was 11. It was absolutely terrible.
Oh my gosh.
Shattered 11 bones in my pelvis and tailbone, knocked out my teeth.
Were you just walking? It was in the car,
playing in my front yard with my friends and
a car just
drunk driver.
Wow.
Yeah. And it was a hit and run, fled the scene. I flew like 30 feet, landed on my face, thought I was dying.
This is insanity.
Had to be like, I think I was helicoptered into Miami Children's Hospital.
Wow.
Wheelchair for a year. Absolutely terrible. Got bullied like crazy in middle school. Kids can be mean.
Yeah, terrible time to be going through that.
Awful.
Mean.
But I found
after
music.
all this. Yeah.
Yeah. But music was my escape.
Were you able to still play music?
Exactly.
Okay.
So, and I was homebound. So I just remember during that time, the piano was my refuge. And I loved my parents, but they were busy as shit. They were working. Each was a lawyer. So music was really like everything to me. And then fast forward to when I was like 22 and I got sober. There was a piano in the treatment center that I was in. And one of my requirements, like from my counselor, or I think counselor or therapist at the time, was like, hey, you need to go and write music because I had neglected it for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I really fell in love with the art of songwriting.
Really?
I started writing my first songs and I went all in, dude. Started a band, moved to Orlando, did extensive touring.
What kind of music were you writing?
Yeah, so I want to say it was like pop punk. Okay. So it was like Blink-182 meets like, I don't know, Green Day meets like Ed Sheeran. It was like very eclectic. I had a keytar at one point I'm not proud of. Like, it was just wild. Keytar.
Oh,
violinist. Dude, it was insane. And we were
sounds awesome. I
had the faux hawks, I had the lines, I had the gauge earrings. Like, dude,
you're an entertainer.
Yeah.
Well, that's actually probably what you were going for, was the entertainment factor, because otherwise you don't do all those things.
So what I've realized through all the different machinations of my life, whether I was a singer or an actor or whatever, is that in the core of all that, I'm an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. And in the core of all that is I want to connect with people. And I always thought that like I had to go this route to do it or this route. And like the truth is today is like, I can do it like this. I can do it through my company. And so,
and really any company that you start
or anything, like as long as I'm honoring, being true to myself, and I'm listening to that intuition, I don't have to do this one thing in order to create the impact that I always wanted to create. Mm-hmm. And I think that like 11-year-old in the wheelchair and that 22-year-old in the rehab has just been since then, like trying to give that back, trying to give that sense of connection and ease and comfort that I got through that to other people. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I think that one of the other things the common themes I'm hearing through this whole process, I mean, between wanting to give back this sense of excitement about just life in general and pursuit of things, but then also pursuing greatness within your company, providing opportunities for VAs, for W-2 workers. I mean, it's this internal compass that's pointing you to give back as one of your main drivers in a lot of the things that you do. And I think that that's actually one of the secrets of the universe is that when you can, I know it happened for me. I mean, there's a lot of times in real estate where you're just trying to take, I need the commission. The second you're like, and oftentimes this comes after you found some success because you just don't need it as much anymore. So you don't worry about it as much. So then you just focus on giving more. And then all of a sudden,
like, where's this been?
All of a sudden, it's like everything is just falling in your lap because the universe responds. It's like, you're getting it. It's not about taking, it's about giving. And then once you start realizing and you come from that sense, all of a sudden, you start getting everything you were looking for.
Without question. You just gave me chills, dude. Without question. Dude, there's so many times, like, even lately, because I've been through a lot, and even after COVID and stuff with the Dalton that we'll get into, there's plenty of times where I don't even want to like start my day, and the old tapes will come in and the old depressive thoughts or whatever, and I just think of my company, dude. I think of it's bigger than me. Whenever I can connect back into that this is not about me, that I'm a part of it. And I'm just kind of like a passenger. I'm a witness to what's happening and I can participate in it. Dude, it changes everything. Yeah. Because then it's not about this like self-centered fear and what am I going to lose or what am I going to get? It's like, oh, wow, I get to participate. I get to wake up. I get to be a CEO. I get to be of service. And it just changes that shift,
So that's a good one. I mean, because a lot of people feel that way at some point, not every day, but like a lot of people wake up some mornings, I included. Some mornings, even more recently, I was like, man, I'm just so behind. I don't want to take on today, And, we all have our different ways of going through it. For you, it sounds like you go back to your company. Do you have any like routines that you do that you recommend to people? I'm sure that you've had some that didn't work, but what are some routines that you recommend to people just to get their day started and you wake up on the right side of the bed?
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you what I did today, so I try to get up at a reasonable hour. My old musician mind tends to keep me up late some nights, but I'm very, very privileged in the fact that I have a cold plunge at home. I am not one of those like guys that's just going to say everybody needs it, but it certainly has been effective for me, my mental health, and also doing something extremely difficult first thing in the day, kind of that mental task, then the rest of the days tend to be pretty easy. Like this is way easier than getting in the wind on my balcony and getting in a 40-degree cold plunge.
One day I want to have a cold plunge too.
Dude, it's the shit.
I'm jealous.
But obviously not everyone can do that, right? So
a lot of people have them, they just don't use them too.
Well, and if you can't do that, cold shower. If you can't do that, literally bowl with ice. Like there's other ways to do it.
The Instagram video.
It's actually pretty legit, dude. Like there's some science behind it, you know, like Ashton's taking it far, but and so that prayer always, I haven't gone in almost 20 years without, getting on my knees and praying first thing in the morning. It's non-negotiable for me. And what prayer looks like for me isn't like, oh, I'm having a conversation with God. It's more me going through the process of surrender and saying, hey, today, I'm not going to try to control the outcome. I'm just asking for strength to do the action. Give me the strength to do the action. Give me intuition. Try to get out of my ego and just stay connected with source and do that as soon as possible. Before I check the text, before I check the email, I don't touch my phone until at least about an hour into my day. That 1 hour of sovereignty is medicine. I have to get aligned and I have to get all of the fear and all the bullshit out of the way. And the day is acting on my terms, not the other way around. And then when I'm ready, okay, then I'll check the email and the text. But that's a huge one. Don't touch your phone. Put it on airplane mode. Put it in another fucking room if you have to.
Yeah. That's a big one. So, but to do all of that and still accomplish your goals during the day, what time do you wake up?
It depends, right? So like I've been trying to do a lot earlier these days, which from some people's not that early, but like a little bit before 7.
Okay.
I've been trying to go to IHT Factor. Shout out to IHT here in downtown. Okay. They have an 8 o'clock class. So I've been trying to like get up early enough to do all of my morning routine and still do that. Weekends, sleep a little bit later. When I travel, I sleep a little bit later. And then journaling is very important. And so sometimes that's even just me on a voice memo. I used to do it by hand, but like, I don't know if I'm lazier now or whatever.
Yeah, I used to do that too. Now for me, I do it on Gmail drafts. For some reason, that's just where I do it.
Love that. Oh, we talked about that. Yeah. Make sure you don't send it. Yeah, there's no to person on that.
This is no to. It just says to do today. These are just realigning all of the stuff and why I'm doing it. The first few things are why I'm doing it. And then it's like all of the things I didn't get done yesterday. And then I bold the top 3 that I have to get done in the day.
I'll bet the frogs.
But for me, that's almost like that's almost like my form of prayer is I start with just like, hey, what are my big goals? And then why am I doing it? What do I need to do today to do that? And then getting aligned with the individual tasks that will align with those goals, and just reminding myself, starting with the big why, and then going into the goals. That it kind of gets me more stoked on the goals as I'm retyping them in.
Love that. I should probably do that because that helps you with taking the action. Is if you reconnect to the why. I like.
Yeah.
That.
Some days it feels repetitive because it's like, dude, I've written the goal down every day. And then 2, like I've written down a lot of these to-dos many days in a row now, but also in the same way that it's like repetitive, it also gets annoying. You're like, fuck, dude, I got to get these off my list. So I don't have to write it tomorrow.
That's cool.
But it always starts with the bold ones are the most important. They're like non-negotiable, have to get done.
All right. You're going to start by back your time. I'm going to start doing that.
Yeah, okay.
Deal.
I like it.
On our next pod, we'll check in.
Yeah.
That's actually kind of genius. Yeah, because then it's both. It also reminds you like, yo, finish this thing already.
Well, for me, it's like when you have all these balls in the air too, it's like if I don't do this, then I'm dropping the ball everywhere. Love that. I have to do it, but it also just kind of realigns me with why I'm doing it. So, and that's my way of trying to snap out of the like, I have so much stuff to do today.
Totally.
Mindset, which I felt a couple of days this week. And usually I feel that way when it's something I haven't done before. You know, like I really only feel stress around things that I'm not familiar with. Like for example, dealing with a squatter, I was like, I've never dealt with this before. I'm stressed out. How's it going to go? Is it going to go away? And like that thought process, like how's this outcome going to go? Like the stuff I've dealt with before, I know how it goes. Like for you, like, you know, I know what it's like to deal with a person who broke a couch. I've done it 10, 15, 20, 30 times. For me, like I know like the first time I dealt with like a water leak through the roof during a crazy downpour that was like pouring into a unit, I was like, oh my God, like the world is ending. Now it's like, yeah, whatever, man. No, like it'll be okay. We'll put them in a hotel room. We'll dry it out. We got the fans down the street and the thing. And I know who to call. Alfonso will be there. You know, and it's not a big deal, but it's when it's like the unknown that creates stress.
100%.
But I think that's also something that that's a muscle that you can work too, getting more comfortable with the unknown and just doing more things that are outside of your comfort zone. All of a sudden it doesn't become, you're like, whatever, I can handle it. That's like what travel's cool. Because when you travel, you're going to an unknown place. And a lot of people are scared to travel. They like never leave their house. Like a lot of people have never left the US or even California. But for me, it's like, I love going to Europe. I've been to Thailand and Hong Kong. I mean, you've done a lot of travel too. And like going to these new places, especially with my partner, my wife, it's like so fun experiencing a place for the first time, because you stay in a cool Airbnb. You're like, wow, this is so cool. It's in the center. You experience a new neighborhood. Wow, this neighborhood's so cool. I can't believe this is like part of the world. But, and then you have experiences, and it's not even stuff that's on TripAdvisor. Sometimes it's just something you've fumbled into. And those are almost some of the best restaurants that you ever get to go to, because it's just like spontaneity in the moment. And that's what life's about. And I think that probably applies to business too. If you get good enough at just putting yourself in those situations.
100%.
So, hey, I want to go back, because I think one of the most interesting things about you that I don't know enough about is like your whole musical background. So you had the faux hawk at one time, you had the gauge earrings, you had the guy with the guitar.
I was the guy with the guitar.
You were the guy with the guitar. Oh man, I got to see one of these pictures.
I'll put a photo.
That would be great. We'll pop it in the pod. What was like your favorite part of your music career, where you were just like having the most fun? You were at the height. You felt like you were doing exactly what you were setting out to do.
Man, so funny. Literally today, when I was prepping for this podcast, I like to listen to like motivational stuff, and I'm in the gym and doing my cardio. And for whatever reason, one of my old videos popped in to my YouTube. Like, I don't know why. I didn't hit it. And it was me performing, I think it was New Year's Eve 2015, in front of one of the largest audiences in Miami history. Wow. It was a free outdoor concert. And it was Pitbull and Neo and all these incredible acts. And I had done it the year previous, but that year they like broke records. Like people were all the way down Biscayne Boulevard. There was people standing on the Metro Mover. There's people, literally as far as the eye could see. It was over 100,000 people.
Insane amount of people. Wow.
And that night I had this terrible injury that we can or can't get into if you want, that like forced me to get back into songwriting again. So like 22, I got into songwriting again. And then like in like 28, like when I was 28 years old, I got really back into it because of this injury that happened. And I had produced all this music that no one had ever heard, right? So I'd never performed it. I had never released it. It was just new music. And I'm in Miami and I'm in this studio and this guy goes, and this is 5 days before New Year's. This is 5 days. He goes, hey, one of the opening acts for Pitbull canceled. Do you want to do it? And I'm like, okay, well, haven't been on stage in a year. All new music no one's ever heard. I have no dancers, no DJ, no nothing. And I'm like, yes, let's go. And so that night,
embracing the unknown.
Dude, embracing the unknown and say yes, man. Right. All the great things that I've ever experienced in my life are when I said yes to something, right? Like getting out of the comfort zone, like you said earlier, and bigger problems, like higher class problems. And so in 5 days, I found dancers, I found a choreographer, found a stylist, pulled it all together, got the DJ, got the music mixed and mastered. I mean, dude, it was insane, practicing in my mom's living room and all this shit. And then I got on that stage and a switch goes off, man. And it happened last night when I was the keynote speaker at this event. It happens now during a podcast. There's something that like happens when you do all this preparation, then you let go and you can just be present and in the moment. And there's a magic that takes over, man. And I've experienced that in acting. I've experienced that in music, in podcasts, in flow state. And that night, dude, I just remember thinking like, wow, how many people get to ever do this in their whole lives? And I still have footage of it. And it's one of the greatest accomplishments of my life, not because of anything else other than I took the risk. And it didn't go as planned. I mean, there was tons of mistakes and things that happened. There was audio issues and all these things.
Oh man, yeah.
But man, I can always tap back into that. And when I come up
but you showed up when the show must go on, and you you delivered the performance.
Right. And during the performance, you can actually see like my anxiety decreasing. You can see me getting more comfortable and open. And at the end, I was completely uninhibited. And I'm doing crowd work, and I'm dancing, and I'm getting the crowd to cheer shit. And it was incredible, man. And it's just a great reminder. And I remember from time to time of like, it's not going to go the way that you think it's going to go. And it's probably not going to go the second way you think it's going to go. It'll probably go better than you think it's going to go. And the more you can surrender to the moment, the better it's going to go.
Wow. That's a great piece of advice there, especially, for people who get anxiety taking on some, about to approach a big event. For me, about to approach a squatter and figure out how it's going to work. Or like you, about to approach a crowd of over over 100,000 people and do the performance of your life.
And it was televised. So millions of people across the country.
Like the first performance in over a year of not doing any live performance.
No live shows at all.
No dances.
To millions of people.
5 days to prepare. And then you went and just did it and embraced it and delivered a performance that you are proud of because what would we say earlier? It was like you just do the best you can do in any situation. And that's what you did.
100%.
Spent every minute during those 5 days prepping for it and
every minute
delivered it on that day and felt all the anxiety probably when you're walking onto the stage and then all of a sudden it was just gone and you delivered. So
dude, that 30 seconds before I got on stage, dude, I mean, it's a skiz. And then
I bet you're like, I have to use the bathroom. I don't know.
Constantly. The bathroom is everywhere. There's a bathroom. I have a catheter. No, too much.
That's so funny, man. I could totally see that. I totally embody that feeling right now in this moment, just thinking about how that was. But that's awesome, man. So, well, hey, you left me with a couple cliffhangers there. What's this big accident that happened a year before dude you had that performance?
So it's so weird, man. Like, and I've unpacked this in therapy and like all the why and like, did I call, like it, and I've come to this like agreement in myself that like shit is going to fucking happen that you have no part in. Because there's like a lot of therapists, a lot of people say it's like, oh, you attracted it or you manifested it or like, and I don't know, man, I think that's true a lot of the time, but not all of the time. Like if you get hit by a fucking drunk driver, like did you attract that? Probably not. You're
not
just
as a 12-year-old.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Right, exactly. And so, but this injury that happened, gosh, how old was I? Probably like 25. And I'm in this acting class and I'm going on this audition, or no, I'm listening to a speaker and my friend is there and I'm having a conversation with her. And all of a sudden she starts like looking at me weird. And I'm like, what's up? She's like, the whole left half of your face is drooping. And I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, go to the bathroom. So I go to the bathroom and literally the whole left half of my head was fallen. And my eye was wide open. And I was like, am I having a stroke? Like what the fuck is going
that's like
on?
a sign of a stroke, right?
So don't recommend doing this, but I drove myself to the emergency room. I probably should have called an ambulance, but I literally drove like fucking not knowing what's going on.
Yeah.
And as soon as I get to the front, they're like, oh, it's Bell's palsy. You'll be fine. Here's some medicine and whatever. And I'm like,
Bell's palsy?
Yeah. So Bell's palsy is this rare thing. It happened to Justin Bieber. It happens to people, but it typically goes away. And it usually only lasts like a couple weeks and you don't have to do anything. It's your, one of your nerves gets like affected and it protects itself. So it like literally goes paralyzed for a little while, but it's not usually a big deal. But in my case, it was a very rare version of it, which we think was called like Ramsay Hunt, where it affects like 1% of like 1% of whatever.
So just a super random thing.
Super rare. And what we think happened is remember my twin brother, he got a chickenpox shot and I didn't. So we think that the chickenpox virus was lying dormant in my body my whole life. And I got a flu shot for the first time in my life. Now this is very controversial.
Yeah.
And we don't have to talk about vaccines.
Yeah.
But it's the only time I've ever gotten a flu shot in my entire life. And 2 weeks later, this thing happened. And so what I think happened was the flu shot released something that was dormant in my body and showed up in this very rare blood disease. So I started freaking out. And I'm calling all the doctors. And I just released my first music video. I mean, I was in my prime, 25, you know, 10% body fat.
Dude,
like, I'm on a rocket ship. You know, I'm 3 years sober. Like life is good. I'm graduating college. Like I'm on a high. And this thing came out of nowhere. And so I call all the doctors, all the neurologists, all the tests. I'm doing acupuncture. I'm doing everything. And months are passing. Not weeks, months. And then all of a sudden I get this insane ear pain where it felt like someone was taking a needle with lava and just injecting it into my eardrum 24 hours a day. And I'm sober, so I'm not taking pain meds. I'm not drinking. I'm not smoking. I'm just in agonizing pain for months and months and months. And
Probably
I'm still
hard to stay sober when you're
dude, it was terrible. And I'm still teaching. So I have piano students at this time. And I have kids that are trying to pay attention, but they're like, dude, I can't really focus on you right now. Like your face is fucked up. I had to wear terrible. I had to wear an eye patch for almost a year. I had to wear earplugs for almost a year. I had to relearn how to speak, how to chew, all this shit.
Jeez. And it just came out of nowhere. It's not like you got hit by a bike or
nowhere.
Anything. It's just,
and again, I think it was the flu shot, and you guys can come after me in the fucking comments, but it was the only time I ever got it, and I think that vaccine caused it, so I haven't gotten a flu shot since.
I don't either. I just get the
but
flu.
Whatever. Like there's people that are going to be like, you got to get it. And like, no, dude, I work from home. If I get the flu, I'll stay home. Everybody relax.
You can do it if you want.
Like it's
Don't tell me what to do.
Anyways, and so I finally had to have some surgeries. So they like cut my muscle that was causing the nerve to my pain. And unfortunately, what that does is cause hyperacusis, where now it actually like hurts to sing live. And that's why I retired from live music.
Oh no.
So it caused me again to go inward and to like reinvent myself. And that's when I got really heavy into songwriting, because I was like, all right, well, if I can't perform, I might as well become like the best songwriter that there is. So I studied online at Berklee College of Music. I got a certificate and I really fell in love with it. And that's when I wrote those songs that then later I was able to do on stage. So
you were able to do them on stage, and you just kind of,
even in the pain,
you bit the bullet.
Even in the pain, I was like, fuck it.
Man, but also, that's one of those things you're like, dude, the music is my passion, and I put so much work into this. Like, why is the universe delivering me this? And you can sink, in woe is me and all that, or you can try to turn around and say, well, I'm going to become a great singer-songwriter, or maybe it's going to open up other opportunities. And hey, who knows? You ended up in an Airbnb business that's become very successful. And you probably wouldn't have done that if you continued down the path of songwriting like you were.
And I did the Shake at the Sky for sure. And what I know today is that I wouldn't be the person that I am if it had not have happened. And I was on a trajectory, but I don't think it was the right trajectory. And now I can look back with hindsight and be like, okay, had that not have happened, I probably wouldn't have doubled down on my songwriting. I never would have gotten to acting. I probably wouldn't have ever moved to LA, and I would have done all right. But the amount of character that it caused me to build, and the resiliency, and knowing that I can like get through something like that, again, like we were talking about earlier, dude, shit pales in comparison to that today.
Dude, I mean,
a
lot of people go through shit in life. But everything I've learned today about your story is, a lot of character building, from, a wheelchair.
Too much. Don't give me any more for a while.
I got enough character. Please
tap it out. That's enough for now.
I mean, and there's, I don't know if you read the book, Man's Search for Meaning, Viktor Frankl. It's a great book.
Frankl, but no, I haven't read that book.
That's his book about a guy in the Holocaust who survives and is finding ways to just show up with a happy face every day, despite all of the chaos going around him. That's like, that's a book about building character and like, choosing your attitude in any given situation. But, throughout you dealt with the wheelchair, you dealt with this out of the blue nerve damage, which still affects you today. That really changed. It kept you from pursuing the career that you wanted to go down. Were there any other crazy character building experiences in your life that you want to share today?
I mean, there's so many, dude, Well,
you always
sobriety.
You talk about mental health, and you've talked about sobriety in the past. Do you want to touch on that? Because I know there's a lot of listeners who are dealing with that or have dealt with it, who that would resonate with.
Yeah, I mean, again, like we have this expression like addiction doesn't care. It's an equal opportunity employer. So you can come from Yale or jail, Park Place or Park Bench. It doesn't matter. And, on the outside, I came from a great family and I love my parents. We talk all the time. We're great friends today. But there was a ton of traumas early on that I didn't know how to deal with. I mean, suicidal thoughts at like 8, just a lot of stuff that had gone undiagnosed for a very long time, right? And it's not their fault. We didn't have tools back then. We didn't have the internet. They didn't have a book on how to raise twins. Like there's a lot of stuff that like they were doing their best, right? And I don't blame them. And there was a lot of societal things that were happening and familial things that were happening that caused all this trauma. But when I found drugs and alcohol, it was like the first time that went away. And I was like, oh, okay. So I should do more of this. And it was my coping mechanism for all of the fear. And we call it the itty bitty shitty committee, this like constant negative voice, inner critic, whatever you want to call it. And this manifests for most people in many different ways. But I think alcoholics and addicts, it just is a little bit louder. It's just like, it gives it a megaphone sometimes. And drugs and alcohol weren't my problem. They were my solution. And then they stopped working. And like we talk about this where it's like, it was fun fun with consequences and then consequences.
That's all it was.
It just became consequences.
Wow.
And I got into a ton of trouble. And if people Google me, they can go down the rabbit hole. And I have no shame about anything that's ever happened. Luckily, I never really like hurt anybody, but some embarrassing things that happened. And I got to the point where it was literally like life or death. Like I didn't get sober on a winning streak. I didn't get sober. You know, right now sobriety's trendy. Right? It's cool to be sober. And I love that. Like shout out to the Gen Zers that are like doing cold plunges and drinking mocktails. Like that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's not why I got sober. I got sober because I was dying. And I would black out and I would flip cars and I would get in fights with people twice my size, tons of injuries, tons of broken bones.
And that's not even the reason that you got this injury in the first place.
Exactly. Yeah. Like random.
It's like you would expect it to maybe be related, but totally unrelated.
Completely unrelated.
Yeah.
And then, when I was 22, I just got to this place where it was literally like, not only did I realize how I was causing harm to myself, but now I was hurting other people. And that's actually what got me sober. And we can talk about that story a little bit if you want. But essentially, I saw myself on the news.
Okay.
And so my last arrest was pretty loud, and it was loud enough to make the news. And partially because of who my mother is, it made the news. But I remember when I came to, I was in a blackout. I was like in my lawyer's office. And
how long were you blacked out? Like 24
I thought
hours
it was a couple of days. It was like a day. Yeah. Okay. Like it wasn't a lot. It was literally like the night.
So you just black in, you're in his office and you're like, whoa, what happened?
What happened? Yes. Because the night before I was in the living room with my buddies hanging out. And then I come to and I'm like on this weird couch in an office. I don't know where I am. And I pick up the phone and I find out, hey, I'm in my lawyer's office and the news is outside and I got to like walk through this like caravan of newscasters.
No.
So I do that and I go to I forget where I went to, but I turned on the TV and there I am on channel 7. And it's like me in a jail cell. They had like a camera in the jail cell and I'm just completely gone, dude. It's like, remember Mortal Kombat? When the guy is like ready for a fatality and the guy is gonna like,
just like doing
exactly.
that.
So I'm like completely out of it. I'm punching the wall. I'm yelling. I'm screaming, like just crazy.
Yeah.
And I had never seen myself like that. So we didn't have camera phones back then. MySpace was still around back then. So it was the first time that I saw what was happening when I was blacking out. And then it was like, holy shit, my parents, my grandparents, my teachers, my priest, everybody that's ever cared for me or helped me is going to see this. That was enough. Because prior to that, I thought I was just like hurting myself. I didn't really think I was like hurting other people.
But then you hurt the people who care about you. It's not even hurting people physically. It's hurting the people who care about you because they see you destroying yourself. And you finally get to see yourself the way they probably are, the way they're going to be seeing you on the news. Yeah.
And that was enough. That was enough to give me enough desperation and enough hope and enough willingness to do something that I'd never done. And it was literally check myself into treatment like that day. Like I remember that day or the next day. Wow. And that was almost 20 years ago.
Wow. So you just checked yourself into treatment and you never touched alcohol or substances since?
But for the grace of God.
Wow. And so was it like an intensive rehab process?
Oh,
or was it like, or was it like, hey, cold turkey, I'm fine?
It's so funny you asked that. Like when I went in there, they do this like check-in thing where they're like, hey, what do you want to accomplish while you're here? And it was like, get a tan, hook up with the girls. Like it was nothing about getting clean and sober. It was just like, I wanted to enjoy my time there because I didn't understand what I was about to go through. I didn't realize what I'd signed myself up for.
Really?
I was trying to just avoid going to prison and like not, find a place I could like detox for a while. I wasn't trying.
And you didn't know what that meant.
Exactly. Like I'm 22.
But it sounds like you were 22, but like not sober, probably daily for years leading up to that.
Very long time. Yeah. I don't think I drew a sober breath from like maybe 16 to 22.
That's intense.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of people with that story. I mean, we've all dabbled.
No.
But that's a lot more than dabbling. But you were running away from something that effectively it didn't let you run away from it after a certain point.
Yeah, it stopped working. The medicine stopped.
You're like,
working.
well, I better triple, double, quadruple down, and then you start turning into Mortal Kombat.
Exactly.
And you're like, enough is enough.
You got it.
So then you're here. You're in rehab. You obviously don't know what you're checking into. So what was it like?
It was incredible. It saved my life. And I'm still very close with those people today. In fact, this October, I'm going to go back there and I stay in touch with them and they saved my life. They taught me about trauma. They taught me about the causes and conditions, why addicts use, why what does an allergy mean? Like, what does it mean to be powerless over a substance, right? Like, I never understood that. I didn't know that I had a disease. And by the way, if you don't think it's a disease, like, you got to wake up. It's a fucking disease. And the Surgeon General calls it one. And so people that talk about like, oh, it's just like willpower, it's not. It's a disease.
Yeah.
And I didn't know any of that. I just thought I was fucked up. I just thought I was like a bad person. I just thought there was something wrong with me. And it turns out that like I wasn't a bad person. I was just a sick person and I didn't have the tools to deal with life. And so they gave me that. And, you know, I won't like talk about how, because I respect the anonymity of different programs, but they started me real early in that and real fast in that. And I got to do the work and I got to meet other people that had gotten and stayed sober and had what I wanted and walked through all these things in their life without the need to drink and drug. And I was like, if these guys can do it, I can do it. Like, it can't be that hard.
Yeah.
And that's when I had my first spiritual experience and I was able to finally reconnect with that higher power that I had my whole life, that once I started using, I no longer relied on, because drugs and alcohol became my higher power. And then I was able to get back to that connection. And that connection still to this day is the most important part of my life. It's the center of my life.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's really cool to hear you say that, because I mean, having just dealt with, you know, a squatter tenant the other day, it wasn't, you know, ultimately I ended up driving this person to a hotel after they left my unit as part of the arrangement. But during that drive, I was speaking with her, and you know, she told me a little bit about her story, you know, going in and out of rehab a few times. And I told her how I just opened up a sober living home. And I could already tell, just kind of based on this experience of, you know, them kind of living without my permission in my unit, that they were kind of falling back into what they had just run away from. And I'm sure that and you know, in talking to the sober living house and becoming more familiar with how that works, and the people who live in these houses, they're great people.
Yeah.
They're really nice people, cool
Absolutely.
people. It has a real bad stigma because you know, it sounds like just troublemakers, but when you actually get to meet the people, they're really trying to get better. And they actually are cool people. It's just, they have a problem with substance abuse.
You know, I'm glad you brought up stigma. I'm so grateful that today it's cool to be sober, because it was brutal in 2006, dude. I got bullied for being sober. People would fuck with me all the time. Like, oh, you pussy, why don't you take a drink?
Exactly.
And
they don't
like,
understand.
They don't get it, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful that the stigma has started to go away now, and celebrities are speaking out. Dude, there's a ton of sober celebrities.
Oh, yeah.
And living in LA, I got to meet a ton of them. And I was like, oh, this is just like having an allergy to peanuts. It's just like another thing that these people are dealing with.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean they're a bad person. They just have an allergy to peanuts.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of people, beyond just the stigma behind like, why are you sober? A lot of people, the why isn't just that they are running from some abuse. It's like, now it's like, no, it's not healthy to be
Exactly.
drunk or doing any of these
100%.
things. And we care about health more than we did, you know, 20 years ago.
Which I love.
But also I could see, you know, college and, you know, younger years, you know, had the whole, hey, come on, have a shot, pussy. And like, you're just trying to run from one of the most traumatic, you know, horrible times of your life. Hearing that stuff, it makes it so hard to stay strong, you know? And I'm sure you had a lot of those near experiences where you were like, man, it's hard to stick to my gut on this and actually follow through with my sobriety.
You know, it's interesting you say that. And I say this with like all love and respect, because we're good friends.
Yeah.
Is that people that are outside of the addiction world think of it that way, because it seems like it should be that way, right? But it's actually the opposite. I don't have to try. I don't have to fight. I'm not resisting it. It's been completely removed. It's something that I only think about when I'm talking to guys like you, or I'm talking to other alcoholics and addicts trying to help them.
Right.
But it's not something that I'm ever fighting. It's been removed. And it's such a cool thing.
Was it removed immediately, or was it removed
No, it
after
took
many
time.
years?
It took time.
Yeah.
I'd say it took about a year for it to completely like go away. And listen, I'm not going to say
Through
there's
your
never
daily
been,
practices and routines that you kind of worked on in the rehab.
And I'm not going to say I've never been tempted. Don't get me wrong.
Sure.
Like, I'll see a new ad for a new flavor of Smirnoff, and I'm like, that probably looks pretty good, you know? Like
Pog Smirnoff.
Yeah, exactly. Or like, I'll be at a concert, I'll smell some really good weed, and be like, God damn, that's some fun. You know what I mean? Like, But the obsession has been lifted.
Okay.
And I'm not tempted, and I'm also not like resisting. It's just neutral. It'd be like if Drano was sitting on that table right now. I'm not thinking about the fucking Drano.
Yeah.
It's just like,
Yeah.
oh, that's Drano. That'll kill me. I guess it's easier because I know that for me, it's life and death.
That is,
and so I don't have to try. That's like saying, hey man, resist walking into traffic today. It's like, no. That makes sense?
Totally. But the reason I was kind of going down this path is because I was mentioning that car ride with, this person that I was driving to the hotel, and I could see them sinking back into what, obviously getting back into the bad things,
of course,
in the unit that they were staying in illegally. And I kind of was like feeling for them. I'm like, well, why are you going back to this again? And I'm sure a lot of people feel helpless because they think they're going to get clean. They're like, this is the time. And then a week or two after, they're like, man, I wanted to just hang out with my old friend, and he introduced something, and then they fell back into it.
100%.
But I think it's really cool to hear your story that eventually, it doesn't happen 1 week, 2 weeks, even a month, but after a year, it becomes nothing. There is a time where you don't have to battle it every single day or worry about it when someone says, oh, come on, have a shot, pussy, because it won't bother you anymore.
Right.
And that's achievable. And then not only is that achievable, but you can then go on to start an Airbnb company that does 15 million in revenue, a decade later. So, you're not at the end, you're not at the end of the finish line of life. You've got a lot ahead of you if you just, stick with it.
100%.
And I think you're the living example of that. And it's really cool that all this has kind of happened in the last week, and we're doing this podcast now. I'm getting to learn more about your story because I am opening that sober living house right now. And, at first I was, that is my kind of gateway into getting more into special needs housing, which is more, I can relate to because I have family with special needs, and that's my goal, is to create more of that type of housing. But building this house, it didn't quite work for that. So I kind of did the next best thing, which was sober living. And that gives me some experience in the special needs. But hearing these stories, it kind of attaches me more to the new house that I'm opening now and gets me more excited for the good that it's doing for the community in terms of creating
100%
the, incubator for people to find that resolve and actually stick to it and eventually do big things like what you've done.
Dude, and you're so right, man. And I guess that ties back into what we were talking about earlier, is like, why am I so ambitious? Why do I have this drive? And that's exactly why, dude. It's like, if I can impact one person, look at the ripple effect that rehab had on me, and how many potentially people that I've helped since then. It's you can't even count it, right? And so today I try to continue to remind myself, like, I'm on borrowed time. Like, I should have died many, many times. So I've been given this second, third, fifth, 100th chance at life. I'm not going to squander it, dude.
That's awesome, man. Well, we've learned so many cool things about you on this podcast and what you're doing. I had one last normal question for you, and then I'll let you kind of plug whatever big things you're doing next, and if people want to get involved with you. But my question for you is, you're a pianist. What would be what song would you play for your 8-year-old or 12-year-old self if you could pick any song today that would resonate with you back then?
That's a really good question. One would be Vienna by Billy Joel. Slow down. Doing fine. Can't be everything you want to be before your time. Love that one. I would say some Red Hot Chili Peppers, like I think Under the Bridge maybe be a good one.
I just learned that song on guitar.
So good.
Literally 3 days ago.
So good. And I would say like maybe some classical, like there's something about classical music that I find to be really primal. It like connects with you on a different level.
I feel like it just puts you into flow state.
That's what I'm saying.
It is like the musical like embodiment of flow state.
100%. And so like, giving some of that to you said 8-year-old. Yeah. I think he needs a little bit of classical music. Yeah. I think those three probably be it.
Awesome, man. Well, what are you looking to do? What's next for Evan? You've got Noviq. You've overcome all these challenges. What are you doing next, and how can the audience connect with you or work with you?
Yeah. So just the Evan Rundle is the best way to contact me on all social media platforms. And right now what we're trying to do is take a decade of experience and put that into a hotel fund, right? So sourcing, underwriting, activating, purchasing, cash flowing, operating these deals. And we didn't get to talk about the Dalton too much today, but we already have one that we're developing on 5th and Broadway in downtown San Diego. And that's going to be like our first case study to prove the concept. And we should be doing
Let's talk about what's the offering there?
So it's 2 historic buildings, right? Literally a block away. We're on 6th. So
I've seen it. It's a great location. And if you want to talk to anybody who knows about what's happening next in downtown San Diego, Evan is on the cutting edge of, they're expanding the gas lab quarter, and it happens to be expanding directly in front of the Dalton, right?
100%. Yeah, they're adding a gas amp quarter sign right on 5th and Broadway, 25 feet from our front door. But yeah, it's 2 historic buildings. We're going to build 6 large Airbnbs inside of them, which I think is pretty fucking cool. Instead of doing like 20 studios, because they're going to make more than the sum of its parts.
Right.
And then that's going to be a restaurant on the ground floor, speakeasy in the basement that actually existed in the 20s. I didn't tell you about this.
No, I don't remember the speakeasy.
Yeah. So in 1911, the building on the left was built. And then when the 20s hit, they turned the basement into a speakeasy.
Wow.
And there's a dumb waiter that lowered the alcohol from the sidewalk down to the basement. It's still there and it still works.
Wow. That's gonna be cool.
So we're going to keep it and we're going to use it to bring the garbage up. Where we
that's just repurposing
it, like adaptive reuse on steroids. And that's it, man. And just do that over and over again and try to find these distressed properties. Think about it like this. Right now, a vacant, historic, unoccupied office in downtown is trading at a very high cap rate, right? Because it's super risky and no one wants to touch it. It's radioactive.
Right.
But if you can take that same building, make sure it already was seismically retrofitted, make sure that you can get some historic tax credits from it and buy it at that cap rate, try to get seller financing on it because maybe the owner hasn't had a tenant in 5 years and they're desperate.
Sure.
You can buy it, get a construction loan, turn it into Airbnbs. Now you went from a terrible NOI, super low, and a super high cap rate to a huge NOI, more than even long-term tenants would pay, and reducing the cap rate. You automatically force appreciation in a way that you can't really do anywhere else, especially not on residential properties, but even on commercial properties. You're forcing way more appreciation in this model.
It's a complicated process, and very few people have the wherewithal to actually pull that off.
Yeah.
And I know we looked at a couple deals, and even combined with our experience, it's a complicated task. But if anybody can do it, it's the guy who's staying up until 12, sending messages to his team in all caps, and waking up at 6 a.m. Wondering why the work isn't done yet. So
appreciate that, sir. But that's the goal. And to buy in those and cash flow them and then refinance, get that money out, hold the property, cash flow and buy more.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Well, hit up Evan Rundle, the Evan Rundle on Instagram.
Everywhere. So just the Evan Rundle, all platforms.
Yeah, hit him up. And also Noviq is an incredible company. I think probably one of the best people to co-host your property in San Diego. They have the infrastructure, the teams. And one thing we didn't really touch on, we maybe we'll dive into it on our next podcast, is the opportunity to really save investors a lot of money, particularly people who are high income earners on W-2. They can invest in Airbnb properties, and that will qualify as a write-off. Like you can write it off like a car against your personal income. Double check with your tax professional. But a lot of people are doing this, and it's saving a ton of money in taxes. Oftentimes, the amount of money you would have paid in taxes, you can put into a property, and you're saving yourself your entire tax bill. And now you own a property instead of the money just to the government. So another reason to talk to Evan and potentially get involved in this fund. So anyway, thank you all for tuning in to another episode of the Cash Flow Alexio Show. Evan, thank you so much for coming today. And I'm sure we'll be having a couple more, tidbits, maybe shorts, other podcasts coming in the near future. So stay tuned, and thank you for listening.